Okay, awesome. Well, hello and welcome everyone to our Masters in Asset Management class of 2024 current student panel. I have four current students here with me, all spotlighted so you can see them easily. And I just want to thank them again for joining us and for lending your voice to the student perspective in the Masters in Asset Management program. Thank you. Thank you so much. Before we get started, just a little outline for today's session. I am first going to ask our students to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to go over a couple of the questions that you all submitted as you registered. So your top questions, I'm going to ask each of our four students to answer here in our main room. And then after we've gone through those questions, I am going to open breakout rooms so that all of you can go and chat with each of our individual students in a small group setting. And then at around 12:45, 12:50, we'll come back to the main breakout room here and say our goodbyes. So that's the outline for the session. I'll explain that again once our students have answered all of our questions before we go to breakout rooms. So no worries if you want me to kind of re-explain that later. So to start off with our current students, I'm going to have each of you introduce yourself, your names, your pronouns, your undergrad, hometown, and maybe your major as well, and a fun fact if you'd like to include that. And I'm going to start with Addison just because you're the first one on my screen.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Addison. I'm from Shanghai, China. I go by she, her pronouns. I just graduated from New York University, Shanghai this spring with a double major in data science and finance. A fun fact about me is that I'm a big fan of Formula One racing. If anyone is interested in that, we actually got lots of people interested in racing in our class. That's a fun fact for our class as well.
Amazing. Awesome. And I see Angela nodding along, so I'm going to go to Angela next.
Okay, yeah, we definitely have like more than three Formula One fans in like our cohort alone. So definitely shout out to them. Hi guys, my name is Angela. I go by she, her pronouns too. And I am from Hong Kong, China. And I'm back in undergrad. I came from NYU, so shout out to Addison, my alum. And my undergraduate major is economics and philosophy. And fun fact about me is that I speak four languages: Cantonese, Mandarin, English, and Spanish.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, Adil, you're up next.
Hi everyone, my name is Adil. I go by he, him pronouns. My hometown is New Delhi, India. I did my bachelor's from University of Delhi, again in India. I come from I had like 4 years of work experience before coming here. I was an ESG consultant. And a fun fact about me, like I have been pursuing mixed martial arts for the past 10 years.
Amazing. A very athletic group, our class. All right, and then Aman to round it out.
Julio, hey guys, I'm on. I don't know why that lagged. Okay, I'm Aman. I was born and raised in Nairobi, Kenya. And I did my undergrad at UCLA. I majored in financial actuarial mathematics and economics. I know, long name. I get it all the time too. And I guess a fun fact about myself. Big basketball fan, so I hope that counts as a fun fact. There's a game going on right now, so if anyone's a basketball fan and wants to tell me how that's going, go for that.
Amazing. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. And now to get started with the questions that our registrants submitted. The first one is, tell us a little bit about SOM culture and how that played into your decision to apply to the Masters in Asset Management program. And as a part of that, our registrants were very curious about what clubs you're a part of. And to kind of mix it up, I'm going to start with Adil first for this question.
Yeah, so why I considered this program, the moment I got here, everyone is very inclusive here. Like it was a very supportive culture. So I was considering between many schools, but the one thing that stand out about Yale was like everyone is really helpful. it's like a community. It's like you are creating a family away from your family here. So that was one thing which really stand out as compared to other schools, and also this specific program which is into asset management, which is very unique and no other school offers such a program. And in terms of clubs, like I'm a part of Energy Club and investment management club. So do encourage you guys to join that club if you decide to come here.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Angela, same question.
Okay, so what made me chose SOM is also kind of echoing to Adele's point. Like prior to actually deciding to commit here, I attended a series of the events hosted by the uh, admissions office, and I really enjoyed like my conversation with the previous graduates. I found that throughout my conversations with them, they really did foster like a, as Adele has said, home away from home here with their cohort. Given that our size is not as big as a lot of other grad programs, we do have a lot of time to spend with each other and could be having fun or grinding through homework. But like, anyways, we spend a lot of time together, so it is really a really unique and peculiar bonding experience. Aside from developing like both academically and professionally, so and that has been proven by my experience here so far. So I am really grateful of my choice. And yeah, for clubs, I am a part of the investment management club too, and I do strongly recommend you guys consider it because it is a really practical experience in the sense that the club leaders, they provide us with trainings and stock pitches, and like they also have a lot of events that we could like participate in. So definitely recommend.
That's great. And I'm glad you got into depth about what the club does for you. So that's really cool. Thank you for sharing, Angela. Aman, I'm gonna have you go next.
Sure. So this is a very tough question because everyone is giving good points, and I think a lot of them resonate with me as well. But if I had to say that, specify something that did play into my decision, it would be definitely the fact that this is a business school environment. So most of the other programs I applied to weren't actually business schools; they were more of physical sciences. And so one of the things that led me here was the business school. So you get to interact with MBA students, with MAM students, with GBS, all different majors. And yeah, it's just great to see what they have to say, their own experiences. I made a bunch of friends and who are way older than me. But you get to learn from them, and I think that's just the best part about this program. As for the student clubs question, that's I am part. Okay, so I'm part of the investment management club, the real estate club, and the startup. That one, the one I forgot the last half, but the entrepreneurial club. But to be honest, I haven't been as engaged as I should be. And it's been a month, but I should probably be a little more engaged. But these are definitely interesting clubs. They have well, they do all sorts of these events throughout the quarter or semester, I guess in this case, and yeah, it's definitely something to look forward to every week.
Amazing. And Addison, to finish this out with this question.
Yeah, sure. It will be difficult for me to go last, but I think the main factors that play into my decision to come to SOM is when you talk about SOM, you just come naturally with educate leaders for business society, and actually we're practicing it every day. When you sit in the Charlie space, which is our cafeteria here, you met an MBA student and talking about why they come to SOM, they will say, oh, this place that people really care about the social issues, talking about ESG all the time. And that's what we are doing. And that's a bit different from other B schools if they are more focused on careers and just careers solely. So that's one thing that really stands out for SOM. And for asset management program, it's really like we have a small cohort size, and everyone just stayed super connected with one another. And yeah, just as Angela said, we spend literally every day together. A lot of time, maybe most of the time we're doing homework, and some of the time we're hanging out. And yeah, there are lots of like SOM events, so you have the chance to connect with your classmates and other master programs like GBS and systematic risk, and also MBAs. So it's a close-knit community and really enjoy being here. For our student clubs, I'm a part of the investment management club. Big shout outs to our investment management club leadership. They are parts of those our MBA and AM dual degree students, and they are like more experienced in this field and really provided those practical experience to us. And yeah, they're great like education sessions and trainings. So really a big part for us like asset management students to get know about the industry. Yeah.
Amazing. And Addison, you're absolutely right. It is hard to go last with these questions. So I'm going to have you go first with the next one. And probably one of the most popular questions that we got is, what has your favorite class of the asset management program been so far? And I know this is tough. Y'all are in your first quarter, so not as many options to choose from, but would love to hear how it's going so far and what class you've enjoyed the most.
Yeah, of course. I know everybody will talk about quantitative investing taught by Professor Moskowitz. So I will go by another one, which is my elective for this semester, fixed income securities taught by Professor Simon Mashut. He was the managing director at Deutsche Bank Asset Management. So he's super experienced in this field and talking about all of these like fixed income securities and those high level intuitions. I've been taking like one of the fixed income class back in undergrad, but that was more practical ones. You do a bunch of calculations and get to know about how you price a bond. But for this class, we'll talk about like what are some strategies that you can use when you are actually on the trading floor and how to answer your clients' requests or explaining to them about these kind of complicated fixed income securities. So it's one of the class that I found really like attracted. Like every time you went there, you just got a chance to know about how the industry goes. So really a great class as an elective if you're interested in the markets.
Amazing. Adil, what's been your favorite class so far?
So for me, it has been ESG investing because I was an ESG consultant before coming here. So I never got the chance to formally study it. Like I learned on the job. Now, Eddie Watts and Stefano both are great, and like they both are jointly teaching this course. So like that content that they have covered in class is quite counterintuitive to what I have seen in my work. So that's a great class if someone wants to take.
Amazing. Aman, what's been your favorite class so far?
Okay, so I'm not going to, first of all, actually, whoever sent this question in, thank you, because, I have a lot to get out of my system for this. But I'm not going to repeat what these guys said because, well, first of all, I'm not taking ESG. I chose a different elective, but I am in Addison's in the same fixed income class. And yes, Professor Mosh is great. He teaches from such a different perspective than your average, professor. I think that's just perfect. I'm also not going to say Professor Moskowitz because I have a feeling Angela might say that, but I'm actually the class that I would say is entrepreneurship in the art market. So I totally had no expectations, no understanding going into this. I was taking it mostly for curiosity, and it has not disappointed at all. Professor Resch, he's actually an entrepreneur. He's an author. He's big in the art market, and this class is so dynamic, so it takes you away from kind of the whole quant heavy first semester that we have here, and I think that's great. But also he brings these guest speakers every week, and I mean just this upcoming week, I think he's bringing the #1 most expensive artist in the world to talk in class. So I think that's just going to be really impressive. So yeah, that's definitely my top class.
Amazing. And Angela, you've had lots of reactions to everyone's favorite class choice. What's yours?
Okay. So I was reacting to like a lot of, I think I only didn't react for adults ESG because that's the kind of the only elective that I'm not in. So actually going off of that, I want to first mention how the SOM curriculum here is very, very flexible. You actually can sit in or audit. If you don't want to formally enroll in any of those electives, you can always still have a chance to learn. So like, for example, I'm auditing the fixed income. That's why like I'm nodding in agreement to like Aman and Addison. And I also happen to be a good friend with the TA of the arts and entrepreneurship and arts market. So I also know a lot about like how their class is going. And I know another teammate of mine is also in that class. So I do also hear from him a lot about how amazing that class is. So that's where my reactions originated from. But as for me, I think Aman kind of saved quant investing for me. So I would say that is definitely one of the classes that I enjoy the most and actually have a lot to learn from. Well, first of all, Professor Moskowitz, he is one of the most passionate lecturer and someone who really cares about his students. And I'm kind of surprised at his kind of level of care and attention to us, given that he is an industry professional and he has all of his other obligations to meet. And aside from the professor himself, the class content wise, it is quant investing is definitely one of the most fundamental and core and just central class you will have to take if you are considered going into a career in quantitative asset management. And for the rest of us or someone who's not going into becoming a quant, this is also an extremely useful class for you to, on the one hand, brush up on your Python skills. On the other hand, it just tells you kind of a framework of how do you evaluate create evaluations or like how do you treat different statistical methods. And so overall, it's a really well-rounded course. It can go into extreme depth. You can choose to go into extreme depth with it if you're interested in like hardcore quant. But also, on the other hand, since we are not really graded on like a letter grade scale, you can also choose to maybe commit your time to other more important obligations while still enjoying the rigor of this class. So in some sense, yeah, quant investing is my favorite class, and because it really challenges me coming from a non-quantitative background.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. I'll have to let Professor Moskowitz know that he got such an excellent shout out from all of you today. So thank you for that. And Angela, I'll start with you for the next question that I have. Could you tell us something that you did not expect about Yale SOM or the Masters in Asset Management program so far?
Okay, that is a difficult question because I feel like coming into the program, I've already like envisioned a lot of the things myself, and also because there were really consistent communications after our admittance and commitment to the program, those communications kind of helped me set up my expectations, kind of get to know what do I expect here. For example, during the summer, we have like training sessions online for like Python and stuff. So that was kind of really helpful for me to like get early on board and start to like develop skills that will prepare me to study in this program. So, but still, I would say coming into the program from a non-quantitative background, just the level of rigor and intensity of this class, of the classes here, especially our core classes as an asset management cohort, is kind of surprising to me. I wouldn't say it's not manageable, but I definitely say like the amount of time and commitment that I had to invest was a little surprising for me. But as we have previously mentioned, we grind on them with our beloved cohort together. So that kind of just eases away a lot of the tension.
Amazing. Thank you. Aman, anything that you didn't expect?
Oh boy. Okay, put me on the spot. All right. So I'm gonna first answer a bit of a bonus question, which is what did I expect about New Haven? Because I'm a West Coast kid, and boy, oh boy, the weather here changes more than, well, I don't know, I don't have a good analogy, but it changes a lot. Just the other day it was really cold, and today it's sunny. So, tomorrow, who knows? It's probably gonna be cloudy. But yeah, the weather is definitely something you wanna keep in mind, at least in part, if you're not super, comfortable with the weather. But I'd say for the program itself, one of the coolest things, at least that I did not expect, was how many resources they are. So I knew obviously, just based on having seen it at my previous school and everything, that business schools you get resources that are directed for networking for all these talks. But when I came, there were talks. There's events every day. The CDO, by the way, shout out to the CDO. They're holding all these events, higher SOM. They have the panels just like this, but with cooler, older, more experienced guys than me, I would say. But yeah, and just it's crazy. Like just the other day, to give an example, there was this talk by Jeremy Scheifling. He was talking about how to use AI in your job search, and he had some very, very cool tips. And hint, at the end of the event, we got a free subscription to a new tool. I'm not gonna say what it is just because it's really cool, but stuff like that. So it's just great to have all these resources at hand. So whatever you want to do, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether you're going into something that's more corporate America, whether you're not even going into anything that's finance related, quite frankly, you can find resources here. And so yeah, that's probably the best thing I've seen, and unexpected. So yeah.
That's a great answer. Thank you for that. And I'm going to throw it to Addison next.
Yeah, sure. Echoing what Emma said, the weather here just changes super quick. One, because Angela and I are actually living in dorm, so we do not have an AC. Just be prepared for that. So 1 week there is really hot, and we gotta like sleep at night. We really have to turn the fan on like most of the time. And the other week it's just really like shivering cold, and have to wear all these hoodies. But yeah, the weather, but most of the time we get really beautiful sunset and sunrise, and you have the nice weather here. If it's not raining, but I came from Shanghai, it's raining all the time, so I get kind of used to it. And other things that I expected is that we really got lots of events and free food here. And we also got a Slack channel called Free Food, that every time there are more like food left for these events, you can just went to the student lounge and grab them. So you won't get hungry here at SOM after like crunching all this work. And yeah, I really enjoy here that, just as Amon said, lots of resources and lots of events. So take advantage of that.
Always great to talk about free food. So thank you for that, Addison. Great point. Adil, anything that you'd like to add?
I think you guys have covered everything, but I'll try to summarize it. Yeah. So what Angela said, it's totally true. Me coming from a non-quant background, I thought I'm good with numbers, but oh boy, Toby's class. So you have to be really prepared for the rigor that the class brings in. But I think that would be worth it if you go through that rigor down the line. And what Aman said in terms of the weather, yes, it changes every day. Like I don't like cold, I'm still wearing full sleeve. So yeah, and also in terms of the kind of resources, yes, there are a lot of resources that you can take advantage of, like, but you have to prioritize and be selective of what you want, because sometimes in having access to so many resources, you end up taking advantage of none. So you have to be very mindful of that. Yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Thank you, Adil. And that's a great question to ask when you're in breakout rooms, is how do you go about prioritizing that? So pro tip for all of our attendees here. It's a great question to ask. The final one that I have for all four of you before we move into our breakout rooms is, what advice would you give to someone applying to the Master's in Asset Management program? And I am going to start with Addison on this one.
I think the top tip I will have is to explore what you are truly interested in. If you are very interested in like the buy-side industry, buy-side investment career, so this is definitely the program that you are joining, because we have all these like classes just centered around portfolio management and how you make investments. But I think most of the investment center class will be happening during spring, I'll say. But like most of the like quant and portfolio management class are happening during fall. So you will have lots of these courses just centered around these industries. And if you were truly exploring your interests and the career in buy side, then that's the place you should go. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And Angela, you're next up on my screen, so I'm going to go with you next.
Yep. So this could sound like a little bit cliche, but really try to present your true self in front, like be candid and think about your passion in your essay and really show it in your interview too. I think coming into the program, I've just met so much diversity that it's to an surprising level that how diverse my cohort is. And I think that's what SOM and especially our cohort really tried to do in the past, is that we strive to take in people from various perspectives so that we can hear lots of voices in the same class on the same topic. And with that, you don't have to mold yourself into like a hardcore math scientist or like something like a coder to be considered for this program. Really, you show yourself unique strength and just believe in yourself and believe that your strengths will be valued here is the most important thing when you consider application.
Great answer. Aman.
Okay. So dang, what is my advice? Okay, so I think I don't want to repeat what Angela just said because I kind of do. Again, I feel like every answer is just going to be a repetition, but again, I guess that also shows that great minds think alike, so woohoo. So I will say be genuine and but also reflect. So just about a year ago, I was in your guys' seats. You know, all of us we were thinking about the program. We were all getting ready to apply. You know, do I want to get what do I want to write? Do I want to remove this sentence? Oh no, this one's wrong. And then who do I ask? And what I realized after all of that is don't try so hard. If you overthink all of it, it ruins the whole model. And I've talked to admissions. I mean, I'm on this panel, so I would hope so. But I would say that they really want to see who you are. Who are you? What do you bring to the table? And what do you want out of this experience? If you can answer those questions and really understand who you are and be able to put that down very nicely on a piece of paper, well, on a Word doc, I would hope, but and send it in, then I think you're good to go. So if you're about to apply, I hope my advice helps.
Great. And Adil, any final thoughts on advice for folks applying?
Yeah, again, I'll try to summarize everyone because everyone has covered everything. So I would say just a lot of reflection and soul searching is required. What you really want to do in the long term. It's not about what you want to do just after your degree. Because if you are want to do a career in, let's say, investment banking, then this might not be the right course for you, because this course is more geared towards someone who's into planning their career into investment management. And with respect to applications, yes, once you do a lot of uh, reflection, so you would be able to uh, get your why, which is very important, and which will the stronger your why to do this program, the easier for you would be to handle the quant rigor. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you all for that. It's really great to have your words of wisdom and advice for everyone joining.